In war, silence is a weapon, and for decades, elite units sharpened that edge in ways most people never imagined. From shadowy knives born in Shanghai alleys to suppressed pistols chosen by USSOCOM, these tools meant life or death in the closest combat. But how did Special Forces choose which weapons to trust when every second counted, and what happened the moment the mission turned lethal? The answer hides in the real stories behind every shot and shadow. In 1941, a new kind of weapon appeared in the hands of Britain's most secret warriors. Forged by William Fairbairn and Eric Sykes, veterans of the Shanghai Municipal Police, the Fairbairn-Sykes fighting knife was designed for a single purpose: silent and lethal efficiency in close combat. Its 7-inch double-edged blade, slim as a stiletto, could slip through heavy coats or webbing without a sound. Issued first to the Special Operations Executive, the knife became a symbol of the Shadow War in occupied Europe, used in sabotage raids from Norway to the Mediterranean. Each knife was made to balance perfectly in the hand, favoring the thrust over the slash, reflecting Fairbairn's own approach to sudden violence in the Shanghai underworld. The Imperial War Museum still holds original specimens, catalogued under wartime codes, their edges dulled by decades, but their purpose unmistakable. As one Imperial War Museum curator put it, this was not a weapon for show. It was a tool for men who expected to get close. Decades later, the ethos behind this blade still echoes in the training halls of modern special forces, where the lesson remains: sometimes silence is the deadliest weapon of all. May 5, 1980. Black-clad figures drop from the roof and smash through windows of the Iranian embassy in London. In their hands, the Heckler & Koch MP5, compact, cold, and utterly reliable. As the SAS teams stormed the building, the MP5's roller-delayed blowback system allowed for rapid, controlled bursts in rooms barely the size of a kitchen. Full automatic fire at close range, but with a steadiness that kept bullets on target and hostages alive. In just 17 minutes, the siege was over. 5 terrorists lay dead, and nearly every hostage was pulled out alive. The world watched, live on television, as the MP5 replaced the knife in the hands of modern special forces. One SAS operator later recalled, "You could feel the weapon settle in your shoulder. 3 rounds, stop, 3 more, move on." The embassy's narrow hallways became a proving ground for the MP5's precision. After that night, every counter-terrorism team on the planet wanted one. The blade had given way to the burst, speed, control, and overwhelming force, all packed into one machine. A heavy door, a locked room, and the need for utter silence. This is where the Mark 23 comes into its own. Developed for United States Special Operations Command and delivered in 1996, the Mark 23 was no ordinary sidearm. Chambered in .45 ACP and paired with a proprietary suppressor, it was engineered not just for power, but for quiet precision. During testing, 3 Mark 23 pistols each fired over 30,000 rounds of high-pressure ammunition, with only a single O-ring swap needed along the way. Operators trusted it to function in sand, mud, or rain, where other handguns might jam or misfire. The suppressor clipped on with a twist, turning the deep bark of a .45 into a muted thump, just enough to be felt, barely enough to be heard beyond the next wall. In the hands of a Joint Special Operations Command tester, the Mark 23 felt oversized, but its weight steadied the shot and its laser module cut through darkness. When the mission called for a weapon that could end a threat without alerting the next room, this was the tool they reached for. The Mark 23 didn't just promise silence, it delivered it, round after round, in the world's most unforgiving environments. A sandstorm can grind even the best rifles to a halt, but the HK-416 barely flinches. When U.S. Navy SEALs and other special operations units needed a carbine that could run nonstop through dust, mud, and heat, they turned to Heckler & Koch's piston-driven design. The secret was in the gas system. Instead of venting hot, dirty gases straight into the chamber like the M4, the HK416 used a short-stroke piston to keep the guts of the rifle cool and clean. Operators in Iraq and Afghanistan reported 99% uptime, even after dragging the rifle through endless raids and blowing grit. For a unit armorer, that meant fewer late-night repairs and more time prepping for the next mission. One operator joked, the only way to jam a HK416 was to drop it off a roof. It wasn't just about reliability, though. The rifle's modular rails let teams bolt on suppressors, lights, and optics in seconds, adapting to any target or terrain. In the hands of Special Forces, the HK416 became less of a rifle and more of a guarantee. Pull the trigger and it fires, every time. A patrol can start in the humid lowlands and end in the thin air of a mountain ridge. That is why the FN SCAR was built to change with the mission. In the hands of SOCOM operators, this rifle is not locked to a single caliber. A quick swap of the barrel and bolt, and a 5.56mm SCAR-L turns into a 7.62mm SCAR-H, ready for longer shots or heavier targets. The process takes just a few minutes, even under pressure. An FN engineer once said, "We wanted a rifle that could go anywhere a soldier could." Field teams reported back from Afghanistan's valleys and peaks. The modular design meant fewer rifles to carry, and more options for every fight. The SCAR's rails accept optics, lasers, and grips without tools, letting operators tailor the weapon for each mission. It is not just about firepower, it is about flexibility. In a world where the terrain and the enemy can change hour by hour, the SCAR's modularity gives Special Forces a rifle that never falls behind the fight. A sniper's world is measured in wind, distance, and the thump of a heartbeat. In November 2009, Corporal Craig Harrison of the British Army set up his L115A3 rifle on the baked earth of Helmand Province, Afghanistan. The Taliban machine gunners he faced were nearly a mile and a half away, 2,475 meters. At that range, a bullet spends almost 3 seconds in flight. The air was thick with dust, and the wind gusted up to 30 miles per hour. Harrison logged every variable, temperature, humidity, the way the mirage danced above the sand. He dialed his Schmidt and Bender optic, calculated the drop, over 120 feet at that distance, and squeezed the trigger. 9 seconds later, the first machine gunner fell. Harrison chambered another .338 Lapua Magnum round, repeated the process, and dropped the second target. Both confirmed kills were witnessed by his spotter. The shot shattered the previous sniper record and sent ripples through military circles worldwide. The L115A3's precision didn't just end a threat, it changed the psychology of the battlefield. Suddenly, nowhere felt safe. For Special Forces, the rifle became more than a tool. It was a message. Distance is no defense. With one weapon and a steady hand, a single operator could shape the outcome of an entire engagement. A Barrett rifle waits on a rooftop, its barrel pointed across a city street choked with dust and heat. The spotter calls out the range, 1,800 meters. The target is an enemy pickup, engine running, with a heavy machine gun mounted in back. A 50 caliber BMG round leaves the muzzle with over 13,000 joules of energy, more than twice that of a standard sniper rifle. When the shot lands, it does not just punch through sheet metal. The force can rip an engine block apart, shatter axles, or rupture fuel tanks. In Iraq, special operations teams used the Barrett to deny enemies their vehicles before a fight even started. One well-placed shot could turn a technical into twisted steel, ending a chase before it began. For the sniper, it was power at a distance, an invisible wall that kept convoys and patrols safe, one trigger pull at a time. A locked steel door stands between the assault team and their target. A single-shot disposable 84mm rocket, known on the radio as AT-4, comes off a shoulder. One squeeze of the trigger, and high explosive force blasts a hole wide enough for a squad to pour through. A brute force breach. Inside, the breacher switches to a Remington 870, loading a shell packed with specialized buckshot. The muzzle presses against the hinges. One shot, then another, and the lock shatters. In seconds, the team is inside, weapons up, clearing rooms. These tools don't just open doors, they erase barriers, turning strongholds into open ground. For the gunner, it's a rush. One moment a wall, the next a path cleared by fire and grit. A drone pilot unfolds a compact tube, loads a switchblade, and launches it from cover. The munition circles above for up to 15 minutes, scanning for movement across a shattered landscape. With a range of 10 kilometers and a live video feed, the operator selects a target and guides the drone in. The warhead strikes with surgical precision, causing less than 1% collateral damage according to manufacturer claims. In Ukraine, these loitering munitions have turned a single backpack into a remote-controlled threat, validating unmanned lethality on the modern battlefield. Technology evolves, but the edge in combat still depends on those who wield it. As new threats emerge, special forces adapt faster than ever, turning innovation into survival. The weapons that come next will shape tomorrow's conflicts. For more stories like this, subscribe to the channel and join the conversation below.